My name is Adnan, and today I'm going to share some terrifying horror stories from real truck drivers. These are true events they witnessed with their own eyes during long, silent, and lonely nights on the highway. So sit back, turn off the lights, and get ready. Because what you're about to hear are the real chilling horror stories of truck drivers. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because more dark, true, and unexplained stories are coming your way every week. My name is Azam, and I'm a truck driver. I've completed many long journeys in my life, and this route, from Sukur to Mansehra, I had traveled many times before. But this particular journey is one I still remember vividly. So without wasting any time, I'll start my story. It was 2021 when this incident happened. I was driving from Sukur to Mansehra with some goods in my truck. Everything seemed normal, just like any other trip. Around midnight, I entered Khyber Pakhtunkhwa on a freezing winter night. I had traveled alone at night many times before. Between Sukur and Mansehra, I usually took only 3 stops, 1 for food and 2 to freshen up. Since truck drivers usually drive slowly, around 40 kilometers per age, the journey feels very long. When I entered the mountains of Mansehra, there was complete silence everywhere. The darkness was deep, and the atmosphere was eerie. The roads looked frightening. When my truck's lights fell on the road, and I glanced to the left, to the right, or into the mirrors, all I could see was darkness. I kept driving and played light music on my tape to stay awake. As the uphill road began, the heat gauge of my truck started rising. At first I ignored it because this happens in the mountains, and it's normal for the engine temperature to go up a little. But when the gauge started climbing too high, I became worried. I thought it would be best to stop the truck for a while, let the engine rest, and cool down, especially since the truck was loaded with goods. I didn't want any serious problem to occur. I also hadn't smoked for a long time, so I decided to take a cigarette break. I stopped the truck, turned off the engine, and kept the lights on. The moment I stepped out, I swear the entire place felt full of fear. There was no one around, not even a sign of life. Everything was empty and terrifying. The cold was intense, but the cigarette brought a strange sense of calm. I lit it and stood beside the truck smoking. The headlights illuminated the road ahead, but when I looked behind, all I could see was deep darkness, like a jet-black night. While smoking, I suddenly heard a rustling sound from the bushes and trees beside the truck, as if someone was walking toward the road. I thought maybe it was a local person, but then I asked myself, how could anyone be here at this time of night in this freezing cold? For locals, this was the middle of the night. Everything was silent, so quiet that I could clearly hear the rustling. But the sound didn't feel normal anymore. It didn't seem human. A human walks step by step in a regular pattern, and you can recognize it. But this sound came in bursts, lasting a few seconds, then stopping, then coming again, then stopping again. My truck lights were still on, but I began feeling as if someone was watching me, as if someone far away had noticed that a person had stopped to hear. I kept waiting for someone to walk toward the road and talk to me, maybe ask, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" I thought it might be a local person, but even after a long time, no one appeared. Then I considered that it might just be an animal nearby, but fear slowly crept into my heart. And this was a lonely place. Anything could happen here, even some other creature of Allah. So I decided it would be safer to sit inside the truck and wait for the engine to cool down. But before getting in, I wanted to check both back tires. Most of you know trucks have double tires at the back, and often big stones get stuck between them. Since I'd driven a long route, including some off-road areas, checking for stones was important. My cigarette was almost finished, and the rustling sound had stopped, but I still felt like something was watching me. While smoking, I bent down to check the stones between the back tires, using my phone's torch to see clearly. I didn't see any stones, but on the other side of the truck, where the weak light from the headlight reached, I felt something. It looked like someone was standing there, not moving, not making a sound. The moment I sensed danger, I became fully alert. Until then, I had been moving normally, even making noise while walking, but now I knew I had to move with extreme care. My plan was simple: walk quietly, get inside the truck, and lock the door. Every step had to be silent. I slowly moved back toward the truck, opened the door softly, because the old door always made a small sound. And before anything could reach me, I quickly got inside, shut the door, and locked it tightly, both the driver's side and the passenger side. I turned the ignition on. The heat gauge had dropped a little. I decided I would stop properly only when I reached a place where people lived. Right now, I just had to escape this lonely and terrifying area. I put the truck in gear. My eyes stayed on both doors as I kept thinking, what if something attacks me? What if something comes in front of the truck to stop me? But nothing happened. The truck began moving normally. Then I glanced at the side mirror and saw two eyes shining back at me, like how a cat's eyes glow in the dark. Just like that. Two glowing eyes. But it was not an animal. Whatever it was stood at the height of a human being because those eyes were at the level of a human face. The strange thing was, I couldn't see anything else. Only the eyes. They were glowing because my truck's backlight was hitting them, and even when the truck moved forward, the eyes stayed in the exact same place, which meant it wasn't following me. My mind was racing faster than the road, but the truck was moving at its usual slow speed. I wanted to drive fast, but the road kept getting tougher, forcing me to slow down even more. It was a twisting mountain road, sometimes uphill, sometimes downhill, and it required full concentration. All I wanted was to reach any place where people lived, park the truck, and let it rest. But the same question kept repeating in my mind. What was that thing? Who was it? A person or a djinn? I had driven only about half an hour when visibility dropped terribly. The headlights were now lighting up nothing but thick fog, and I couldn't see the road at all. The journey had become extremely dangerous, and the road ahead was completely invisible. I knew I needed to stop the truck, let it rest, and take a break, but after what had happened earlier, I was terrified of stopping in any lonely place ever again. Still, I had no choice. The fog was now so dense that visibility was almost zero, and there was no town or village anywhere ahead. So I began searching for a safe spot, a place where the truck wouldn't block the road, and where another vehicle driving blindly through the fog wouldn't crash into me. After some time, I found a small area off to the side. I drove the truck off the main road and parked it on a rough, empty patch of ground. I turned off the engine and even switched off all the lights so no one could see the truck from afar. My plan was simple. I would rest. If the fog cleared during the night, good. If not, I would leave in the morning, because in these mountain areas, visibility usually improves only after sunrise. The cold outside was harsh, and I needed to use the washroom, so I stepped out of the truck. The air felt strange, something I still can't fully explain. I walked a little away from the truck to relieve myself. The darkness was complete, and the only visible thing was my truck standing on one side. I held a torch in my hand, trying to find a proper spot. The fog was so dense that I couldn't see more than 10 feet ahead. I finally sat behind a tree, finished quickly, and was about to stand up and walk back when suddenly a loud horn blasted behind me. Someone had pressed the truck's horn with full force. The sound was so powerful that my heart jumped, as if it would burst out of my chest. I instantly turned around. It was my truck, only my truck, barely visible through the fog. I stood frozen for a few seconds, unable to breathe. Then I slowly began walking toward it. The closer I got, the faster my heart pounded. My hands were shaking, and one terrifying thought kept repeating in my mind. If I am standing here, who pressed the horn of my truck? When I reached the truck, the doors were closed and no one was inside. I flashed my torch into the cabin. Nothing. Then I bent down to look near the tires, thinking maybe a person or an animal had touched the truck. I tried convincing myself it might just be a short circuit. Old vehicles sometimes do that, but my heart wasn't settling. I opened the door, climbed inside, checked the wiring, switched on the cabin light, and looked around the entire cabin. I kept telling myself it was only my imagination. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was outside. Someone who had been following me ever since that first incident. I reassured myself that I was only scared because of everything that had already happened. I quickly inserted the key, switched on the lights, and looked around again. Everything seemed normal, but there was moisture on the horn button, like someone with wet fingers had pressed it. My hands began sweating despite the cold. I turned the key, the engine started, and I told myself I had to leave this place. But the fog had grown so thick that I couldn't see anything ahead. I finally accepted that I had no choice but to spend the night there. I turned off all the lights, straightened my seat, and wrapped myself in a blanket. Outside, through the fog, I kept hearing a low whistling sound every now and then. It was around 2 a.m., freezing cold, and the fog was so dense that even the truck's bonnet looked blurry. I covered myself fully and switched off the light to rest. Everything outside was silent except for an occasional distant dog bark. Suddenly, I heard a tapping sound near the back tire. Clear, sharp, like someone lightly hitting metal with a small hammer. At first I thought it might be the wind or an animal, but the sound was coming in a perfect rhythm which made my heart skip. I picked up my torch, gathered courage, opened the door and stepped out. The cold air hit my face. I slowly walked toward the back, checked everything in the torchlight, even looked underneath, but everything was normal. The moment I listened carefully, the sound stopped. Thinking it was just my imagination, I went back and wrapped myself in the blanket again. But as soon as I settled, the same sound returned. Tock, 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 this time from the other side of the truck. My hands started shaking. My heart told me not to go, but my mind insisted that I check. I got down again, walked to the right side, and pointed the torchlight at the ground, barely able to see anything through the thick fog. As I moved the torch around, I saw fresh footprints in the mud near the tire. Like someone had been standing there just moments earlier. Sweat ran down my back. I slowly raised the torch upward, but there was nothing there. At that exact moment, a faint sound came from the front of the truck, like someone gently touching the door handle. I ran toward the cabin and quickly flashed the torch in that direction, checking carefully. But there was no one. I opened the door and sat inside. For a long time, everything stayed silent. Then I thought maybe I should check the back cabin, but instead I lay down, pulled the blanket over myself, and tried to ignore everything. Still, something inside me felt that someone was following me. Someone watching me, someone who wanted to trouble me. I had barely settled into the blanket when I heard a sound from behind the truck. The big container at the back has a heavy lock, one that doesn't open easily and requires real effort. But I felt like someone was trying to open it. First, it sounded as if they were shaking the lock, struggling with it. Then suddenly there was a sharp crack, and the whole truck shook slightly. The back door had opened. It shocked me completely. I grabbed my torch again. I had no choice. I had to check the back. I stepped out of the truck. The fog was so dense that half of the truck was visible, while the other half disappeared into the whiteness. It felt as if someone was standing behind it. Slowly and carefully, shining the torch on the ground, I walked toward the back. I was terrified. I kept aiming the light downward, afraid something might grab my legs. I kept turning around to make sure no one was approaching me from behind. Finally, trembling, I reached the back and saw one of the doors hanging open. Luckily, none of the goods were missing, so it didn't look like a thief or a robber. I quickly locked the door again, then ran back to the cabin and lay down once more. My mistake was that I should have properly locked the container with the main padlock. Normally, container doors have very strong locks. Once locked, they close tightly. But I had left it unlocked because sometimes there are checks on the way. To avoid problems, I had kept the main lock open. The built-in locks were strong, though, and would normally stay secure. I came back and lay under my blanket, but then I heard the same lock sound again. It felt like someone had opened it once more. Brother, what can I even say? I felt like hitting my own head. The fear was unbelievable. A lonely place, thick fog. I couldn't even move the truck from there, and I had to spend the whole night at that spot. I wanted some peace, but I was getting none. Maybe that place had something... Maybe things like this happen there often. I picked up the torch and walked toward the back of the truck. Again, I felt like someone was standing near the back door. I shouted loudly, "Who is there? Whoever you are, please don't trouble me. I didn't come here to disturb you. I am stuck here because of a problem. As soon as morning comes, I will leave this place. My intention is not to enter your area or bother you. For God's sake, I am also a creation of Allah, and I only want to rest here. Please don't trouble me." After saying this, I walked to the back of the truck. I don't know why, but my heart felt a little lighter after speaking those words. I locked the back again. When I came back and was about to open the cabin door, I heard a very terrifying laugh coming from the forest. When I listened carefully, it sounded like someone far away was laughing at me, making fun of me. This feeling was not normal. It shattered all my courage. I couldn't climb back into my truck. My mind was somewhere else, my body somewhere else. My mind was not supporting my body. I can't explain that moment to you. It was a very strange situation. Now you may ask, how can so many things happen to one person in the same place? But this was a true incident that happened to me. It happened in a place where no one was around. If at least I could see something far away, a light, a house, some place where I could hide, then maybe I would feel safe. But there was nothing. And I had already traveled a long distance behind me, hoping to find a populated area to stop and rest. But maybe rest was not written in my fate. I came back into the cabin, turned off the light, and told myself that no matter what happens, even if the back door opens again, I will not leave my place now. Whatever this thing was, it was making me feel its presence. I should not fear it, because I had heard elders say, the more you fear such things, the more they control you. So I decided I would ignore everything. I lay down. A lot of time passed. Slowly, my heart started feeling a bit relaxed. Maybe those things had left me alone. Maybe when I shouted earlier, they understood. But the danger was not gone. I felt like someone walked from behind the truck and came right up to my cabin door. I heard footsteps. Then someone started knocking on my door. Knock, 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 knock. Brother, it felt like my soul had left my body and then returned. The feeling was terrifying. Because of fear, I covered the front windshield with a cloth, and the sides too, making my truck feel like a safe little home. But someone was outside. Who it was, I had no idea. The knocking sound happened 2 or 3 times in a row, and then I heard a strange breathing sound. It was like whoever was outside was taking deep breaths. Let me explain. Because of the cloth I had hung, a tiny gap was left near the top of the curtains, so I could sense the outside a little. Inside the cabin, it was pitch dark. Outside, there was just a faint light. I could feel as if someone was standing there. And in cold weather, when you breathe, your breath comes out as mist. Exactly like that, it felt like someone outside was breathing, and a faint cloud of mist was coming out of their mouth. That's how I realized something was there. Now I started feeling like someone else was approaching the truck too. The footsteps were getting very close, and the knocking, faint but repeated, kept happening continuously. Then I noticed that another figure had come, and was standing nearby. It was also knocking lightly, and the breathing sound had changed into a strange guttural growl, as if someone was growling just beyond the truck. I held my breath. I can't even describe how tense I was. It felt like many people had gathered around my truck. Sometimes I felt movement from behind, sometimes they circled around the truck, sometimes they came right to the door and knocked, as if they were searching for me. I was inside the truck, and I had locked it. I didn't want to take any risk beyond this. Whatever that thing, or those things, were, it felt like whatever was outside now wanted to fully reveal itself. I sensed someone walking from far away, real human footsteps. And as those footsteps came closer, I felt something else with them. Like an animal, as if someone had a pet dog with them. Because I could hear a low animal-like breathing too. Someone was definitely approaching my truck. When they got very close, I felt a beam of light, a torch, shining onto my windshield. There was a curtain inside, so the light didn't fully enter, but I could clearly tell that it was a human being walking toward me. And strangely, the creatures or whatever presence had gathered around my truck earlier, I felt them start to move away. Their footsteps faded into the trees and bushes. Only this human kept coming closer. Then I heard a knock, a normal knock, like a real person would do, and a voice said from outside, "Whoever you are, don't be scared. I'm a local. If you need help, you can open the truck door. Don't worry, I know you've been facing something here. I heard your truck's horn from far away. My home is a bit far, but I thought maybe someone is in trouble. So I came here to help. If you need anything, open the door." I couldn't believe my ears. Part of me felt relieved. It sounded like a kind human. But another part of me was terrified. Because after everything that had happened, after all those knocks, breathing sounds, footsteps circling the truck, how could I trust anyone now? And then one thing became clear in my mind. I can't stay here anymore. Even if I have to leave without the truck, even if I have to run on foot, I have to get out of this place. I slowly opened the door, and the man standing there said, "Don't be scared. I'm a local, and I will help you. If you want, you can come to my house. I have a small guest room. You can rest there for the night. Lock your truck here." I was frightened, but I put on my jacket and started walking with him. I told him, "A lot of strange things happened to me tonight. I've locked my truck." The man replied, "This area is a bit dangerous. Many strange incidents happen here, and a lot of people have complained about it too." After walking for quite a while, we reached his house. He asked me to wait outside, went in through the main door, and then opened the guest room door from inside. There was a simple rope bed with a clean blanket on it. I had already lost all my courage and just wanted to rest, so I slept there for the night. In the morning, the man served me breakfast and then walked me back to my truck. He was very kind and generous. May Allah reward him. He even gave me a very good breakfast. After that, I continued my journey. This was a terrifying incident I went through, and I thought I should share it with you. If you like it, please share it on your channel. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. This happened around 15-20 days ago. I didn't have time before, and honestly, I was also a little nervous about telling it. Right now, I'm traveling on the motorway toward Faisalabad, so I thought I should share the story now. You must have heard the name Kacha area on the motorway. At night, this place becomes extremely terrifying, and there's darkness everywhere. Complete silence. Anyone alone on this road, no car ahead, no car behind, would start shaking out of fear. And here, I'm not talking about ghosts or supernatural things. I'm talking about the Kacha bandits. The dacoits. They surround vehicles, shoot at them, rob them, kidnap people, and then demand money from their families. That's why many drivers are scared, and many such incidents have already happened. Adnan Bhai, big trucks face two dangers, from bandits and from thieves. You must have heard that sometimes thieves steal goods from the top of a moving truck. And if someone behind you comes and tells you your goods are being stolen from your truck, you stop the truck immediately. If luck isn't on your side, the thieves take so much cargo that even if someone stops the truck later and checks the top, they realize the goods are gone. They work so quietly and efficiently that you don't even notice. We were traveling with 3 trucks. Our plan was to get on the motorway by around 2, 4, or 5 a.m. Even right now, as I'm sending you this story, I'm heading from Sukur toward the motorway. That day, the timing was critical because I wanted to cross the Kacha area before it got dark. Our biggest mistake was reaching the Sukur area around 7:38 p.m. We had 3 trucks, and there was no other vehicle around. We decided to get on the motorway immediately. There were 6 of us, 2 in each truck. We thought, if we wait until morning or start at 5 a.m., we'll be fine. We'll reach Multan by then. But we took the risk because we had to unload the goods the next day. All 3 trucks had cameras installed. The first truck had a working camera, but the LED lights weren't working. The second truck also had a working camera, but faulty LED. My truck's camera and LED were both working perfectly. They told me to stay at the back because my truck had the clearest footage. We all agreed to drive together at 70-75 kilometers per h, with no one crossing that speed. Before starting, we recited Ayat ul-Kursi to protect ourselves. We gathered courage and got onto the motorway. Until around 10:30 p.m., nothing unusual happened. At that time, I had one of your horror stories playing in my truck, and that's when the strange incidents began. After that, I promised myself I would never listen to such stories at night in lonely areas. I told myself, from now on, I'll only listen to these stories during the day because your stories are extremely horrifying. Sometimes they scare me so much that I literally stop the truck just to breathe. At night, the motorway is completely deserted and the fear increases 10 times. Around 10:15 p.m., I recorded a few videos on the motorway because I started feeling nervous. I'm sending those to you too. The video quality isn't very good. Our 3 trucks were moving and nothing else seemed to be around us. Around 11 p.m., I played your horror story again. And that's when, earlier I had been watching reels on my phone. Because of that, my attention wasn't on the road and my speed would drop. The other 2 trucks would move far ahead, and then I had to speed up and catch them again. So I thought, instead of watching reels, I should play one of your stories and put the phone aside. That way I would stay alert. This area wasn't safe at all, and I didn't want my attention wandering. So, brother, I played your story. The volume was very high and both side windows of the truck were open. I could easily close the driver's side window, but closing the conductor's side window while driving is difficult. I had been listening for around 10 to 12 minutes when suddenly I smelled something very strong. It was a strange fragrance, something I had never smelled in my life. It gave me such deep peace that I actually got worried and thought, how can such a beautiful smell come from this dangerous area? The fragrance stayed for 7-8 minutes and then it suddenly disappeared. Right after that, a horrible stench hit me. It was such a dirty, chemical-like smell that it felt like it could suck the life out of me. My breathing started to choke. I grabbed my mask, sprayed perfume on it, and wore it, but the smell didn't go away. Then I wrapped a sheet around my whole face, but still the smell didn't fade. So I called the truck in front of me and asked, "Ustad, are you smelling something bad?" He said, "No, I don't smell anything." "Why? Do you smell something?" I said, "Yes, I'm getting a disgusting smell. It's suffocating me." While we were talking, the smell gradually faded away. I told him it was gone, and he replied, "There's nothing, it's just your imagination." I said, "All right, I am right behind you." By then, 7-8 minutes had passed, and the story I was listening to had moved far ahead. I rewound it 10-12 minutes, because I always listen with full attention. I don't want to miss even a single second otherwise. The story doesn't make sense. So I rewound it and started listening again. Then suddenly, from behind my truck, I heard a sound, as if someone was hitting the lock of my container with a hammer. The padlock at the back is huge and heavy, very strong. It doesn't break easily. I had tried breaking it once or twice before, so I knew how tough it was. Earlier, I had been watching short videos on my phone, but my attention kept drifting from the road. My speed would drop, the other two trucks would move far ahead, and then I had to speed up to catch them. I realized it was better to play one of your stories and put the phone aside to stay alert. This area was not safe at all, and I didn't want my focus wandering. So I played the story at high volume, and both side windows of the truck were open. I could easily close the driver's side window, but the conductor's side window was difficult to close while driving. I had been listening for 10-12 minutes when suddenly I smelled something very strong. A strange fragrance I had never encountered before. It gave me a deep sense of peace, which actually worried me. I thought, how can such a beautiful smell come from this dangerous area? The fragrance lasted for 7-8 minutes and then suddenly vanished. Immediately afterward, a horrible chemical-like stench hit me, making it difficult to breathe. I grabbed my mask, sprayed perfume on it, and wore it, but the smell didn't go away. I even wrapped a sheet around my whole face, yet it persisted. I called the truck in front and asked, "Brother, are you smelling anything bad?" He said, "No, I don't smell anything." "Why? Are you smelling something?" I replied, "Yes, it's very disgusting and suffocating." While we spoke, the smell gradually faded. I told him it was gone, and he said, "There's nothing, it's just your imagination." I confirmed, "All right, I'm right behind you." By then, 7-8 minutes had passed, and the story I was listening to had moved ahead. I rewound it 10-12 minutes to hear every detail carefully. Then suddenly, from behind my truck, I heard a sound, someone hitting the lock of my container. Because the padlock at the back of the container is huge and very strong, I knew it was difficult to break. I had even tried breaking it before when I had forgotten the key, but it never broke. I had to get the key from home, so when I heard that sound, I got really worried. I checked the camera screen, but there was nothing behind the truck. I thought, if it were thieves, their vehicle would be visible. Without a vehicle, they cannot climb onto a moving truck. So I increased my speed slightly. Let me tell you something, Brother Adnan. These thieves are very advanced. Just like in movies, another vehicle approaches the moving truck. Someone climbs up, breaks the lock, and throws the goods into the other vehicle. This has happened to many truck drivers before. Anyway, I checked the camera again. No vehicle was in sight. I increased my speed a little more and came closer to the middle truck. I told the driver, "Look behind my truck. I feel like someone has climbed onto it." He replied, "At this time? How can thieves climb up now?" I said, "Thieves usually climb up at night. Just look carefully." He looked behind and then called me. "No, everything is fine. Don't worry. Bring your truck back behind us." Brother Adnan, these strange things had already started happening to me, but I still couldn't understand how it all began with that strange fragrance. While thinking about this, the story I was listening to moved ahead again. So I rewound it 5-6 minutes back and started listening again. By now I was a little scared, not horror-type fear, but just confusion and tension, because something strange was happening. I still didn't believe anything supernatural was involved. After some time, suddenly a stone hit the lower part of my truck's conductor side door. I got scared. I looked toward that side. There was nothing, just darkness everywhere. I feared that maybe thieves or bandits were nearby. I thought, it looks like we've entered their area. May God protect us. I recited prayers for protection and quickly called the trucks ahead. "Stay alert. There's some danger here." They told me, There's nothing here. God will protect us. Don't scare us. The road is already too deserted. No cars in front or behind. And now, you're scaring us more. First, you talked about thieves. Now you're saying the area isn't safe. I said, I'm only telling you what I'm sensing. Why would I scare you for no reason? By this time, it was around 11:30 or 12 at night. After a while, I felt something terrifying. It felt like someone was looking at me from the conductor side, as if sitting on top of the door, leaning down and staring inside the truck. I felt that presence clearly, but when I looked, I saw nothing, just darkness. Fear had fully taken over my heart. The first thing I did was turn off the story. I thought, no, something else is happening. This is not normal anymore. Then I started hearing light tapping sounds from the roof. It felt like someone was softly tapping, just like knocking on a door. My fear increased even more. The trucks ahead of me were far in front, and I was driving alone behind them, full of fear. My truck veered slightly right, then left. I couldn't keep it straight because of panic. While this was happening, I suddenly got a call from the driver ahead, my mentor. He asked, "Are you okay?" Although my real name is Shahid, everyone calls me Hafiz. You can use whichever name fits your story, Hafiz, Shahid, or another. I replied, "No, I am not sleepy at all. There is someone on the roof of my truck." He asked, "Someone? On the roof?" I said, "Yes, I'll bring my truck next to yours. Check it yourself." I moved my truck closer to his. He looked carefully and said, "Why do you feel something is happening?" "Everything looks normal." I said, "I don't know, but I can feel something. That's why I'm telling you." He said, "Do one thing, bring your truck to the front of the line." I said, "Okay," and moved my truck ahead, so I was leading, and their trucks were behind me. For 10 to 15 minutes, I stayed ahead, but nothing happened. We all kept driving normally. He said, "See, nothing is happening. Bring your truck back behind us." But even when I moved back, the soft knocking sound on the roof started again, like someone gently knocking on a door. I was getting really scared. The trucks were far ahead, and I was alone behind them. My truck tilted right and left again, and I was shaking. The mentor called again. "Are you okay? Why are you moving the truck like this? Are you sleepy?" I said, "No, there is something on my roof." He said, "Something? What do you mean?" I said, "I brought my truck next to yours. Look again." Again, I brought my truck beside his. He looked carefully and said, "Why do you feel like this? Nothing is on your truck." I said, "Something is happening. That's why I'm telling you." He said again, "Okay, go ahead again." I moved ahead. 10, 12 minutes passed. Nothing happened. Silence and darkness. He said, "See, there's nothing. You're just scared. Come back behind us." I moved behind them again. Then I said, "Your truck cameras are working, so if anything dangerous happens, at least you guys will see it." I started hearing light tapping from the roof again. Now I was even more scared. The trucks ahead were far in front, and I was alone behind them, sometimes veering right and left. I again got a call from the mentor. "Are you okay?" I told him everything again. This repeated several times over the next 10-15 minutes. Every time I moved to the front, nothing happened. When I moved back, the soft knocking resumed. I confirmed, "Yes, my truck cameras are working." And they were running behind my vehicle. On the LCD screen, I could clearly see them chasing me. Brother Adnan, when I saw this, I was terrified. I checked the side mirrors, but I couldn't see anything. Yet on the LCD screen, they were unmistakably running behind me. I can't even describe how scared I felt. My breathing almost stopped. I said to myself, I don't understand what is happening to me. I knew something strange was going on because I could clearly see it on the camera. Somehow I gathered courage. I moved to the conductor's side, rolled the window up, locked the door, returned to the driver's side, rolled that window up as well, and locked it tightly. Then I took out my phone. I thought, let me record this. These creatures are running behind me. I'll show this to the others, so they understand what I experienced. But when I tried to record, my phone stopped working. I tried multiple times Snapchat, the camera app, everything, but the camera wouldn't work. My phone froze completely. Those creatures continued, running behind my vehicle for nearly 7 to 8 minutes, and during that entire time, my phone didn't work at all. I finally set it aside. When I looked at the screen again, there was nothing behind me. The camera view was completely clear, but after a short while, a pitch-black human figure appeared, like a person with completely black skin. Not just dark skin, There was no hair on its head. It came very close to the camera, with its eyes closed, and lowered its head toward the lens, just like someone filming themselves from their beard upward toward their head. It moved exactly like that, slowly bringing its face extremely close to the camera. I started feeling a presence behind the camera. Even though the figure was completely black, I could feel it. Then Brother Adnan. The black figure opened its eyes. I can hardly describe it. Its eyes were glowing like red flames. Then it gave me a chilling smile while looking directly at me. After about 4 seconds, that smile twisted into an angry, terrifying expression. At that moment, I felt it deep in my heart. Today, I will not survive. I will die today. I had no idea what to do. I didn't understand what mistake I'd made. In the previous story, at least we knew that something had come under our vehicle. But now, whatever was happening with me, I couldn't understand why or how it was happening. Why only me? Other vehicles were traveling the same road calmly, peacefully. Nothing unusual was happening with them. But all this was happening only to me. Because of this, I became extremely frightened and sped up my vehicle. I drove quickly to the front of all the vehicles again. The driver behind me called and asked, "Hafiz, are you okay?" I told him, "Brother, I cannot stay behind. Something is not right. Strange things are happening with me. I will not go behind again. Whoever wants to go behind can go, but I will stay in front." We were still talking when suddenly my vehicle's tire burst. My mentor asked, "What happened?" I replied, "The tire burst." He asked, "Which vehicle's tire?" I said, "I think it's my vehicle's tire, the one on the conductor's side." He said, "Oh man, what is this? This place is already dangerous, and now the tire is gone too. Keep driving. We will stop at the next service area." I told him, "No, the second tire might also burst. There's no point in driving like this. The owner will be angry." Brother Adnan. I had no choice but to stop the vehicle there. Until now, nothing like a robbery or dacoity had happened to us. If it had, we would have kept driving fast, but nothing like that occurred. He said, "Don't worry, there's no robbery issue. You were just getting scared." Brother Adnan, I brought my vehicle back behind them. I was still terrified. It felt like someone was sitting on the conductor's side, staring at me repeatedly. When a person feels like someone is watching them, the mind automatically turns in that direction. So I kept glancing sideways while driving. Every time I shifted my eyes slightly, it felt like someone was there. But when I looked directly, no one was there. After almost 5 minutes, the feeling stopped. My attention then went back to the LCD screen. And Brother Adnan, what I saw next was unbelievable. I saw around 7 or 8 dogs, just normal dogs. Their eyes were glowing. And the truth is, that creature had torn the tire. So I told everyone to stop the vehicle. We are 6 people. We can change the tire quickly. It won't even take 10-15 minutes. My ustad said, "That's fine, but this place is not safe." Adnan Bhai, that road was completely deserted and lonely. I will even send you the video of that road. Behind the driver's seat, the 3 drivers were sleeping. My vehicle was in the middle, 1 vehicle in front and 1 behind. The vehicle ahead turned off its lights. Only my vehicle and the one behind had their lights on. We all called out to the sleeping drivers, "Wake up quickly. The tire has burst and this area is not safe. The ground here is rough and wild." They got scared and said, "Hurry up." I took out the keys and the tool. I opened all the tools and placed everything on the side. Adnan Bhai, I had taken the wrench out myself, and I also took it near the tire. I told the driver, "You go bring the spare tire. Until then, I'll loosen the nuts a little." I started loosening them. He brought the spare tire and placed it near the original tire. You know that from Sukur to Multan motorway, there are 3 main tracks, and the 4th is the service road. Our 3 vehicles were standing on the service road. All the drivers came toward me. Then I asked, "Where's the wrench?" Adnan Bhai. Now we couldn't find the wrench. I had brought it myself and kept it near the tire. We all came near the vehicle, but still couldn't find it. The second driver said, "Go take the wrench from my truck." I said, "It's not about taking another wrench. I had my wrench with me. I brought it here myself." Then I said, "Fine, bring the wrench from the front vehicle." When he went to get it, he said, "Bro, the wrench is lying on your bumper." I said, "How did it end up on the bumper?" Anyway, we quickly started opening the nuts. All the nuts opened easily except one. That nut got stuck. 2 guys climbed up on the road and tried hard to open it, but it wasn't opening. Finally, after a lot of force, it opened. We told two boys, go from the other side and bring the spare tire. When they went, they started making chi-chi type sounds, the kind people make to scare away a dog or cat. I was still sitting near the tire. Suddenly, I heard the sound of someone crying. I quickly looked down toward the area under the motorway where bushes were growing. Nothing was visible. You know how the motorway has a fenced boundary? Inside the fence is the motorway area. From those bushes inside the boundary, a crying sound started coming. And Adnan Bhai, it was a child crying. We all started looking in that direction. One of the drivers, the one who went to get the spare tire again, started making chi-chi sounds. I asked, what happened? He said, bro, there's a cat sitting here. I said, a cat? At this time? Where did it come from? Move it aside and bring the tire. He said, bro, the cat is not letting us go near the tire. I said, all right. Adnan Bhai, now all 5 drivers came to that side. Now all 6 of us were standing on the road near the driver's side. The cat was clearly visible because our side lights were on. The cat was sitting right next to the spare tire. Then Adnan Bhai. The cat sat properly on its 3 legs and started licking its paw. After about 2 minutes, 2 more cats came. Now there were 3 cats. Those 3 cats slowly started changing their faces. Adnan Bhai, what should I even say? What we felt at that moment can't be explained. There was nothing around us, nowhere to run for safety. We were all standing very close together. Now the faces of those creatures started turning into wolf-like shapes, and from behind, they started looking like dogs. On top of their heads, sharp horn-like shapes appeared. They looked like extremely terrifying, unnatural animals. Their feet were still like a cat's, but their expressions were full of anger. They were moving left and right, exactly like a lion does before attacking its prey. We tried to move them away, but they became even more aggressive. Brother, I can't even explain how horrifying it was. We got so scared that we stepped back. And then within seconds, around 100 more cats came out from under the motorway and surrounded us from all sides. They began staring at us with angry, glowing eyes. We were so frightened that it's hard to even describe. All the drivers that night said, "We told you not to stop here. Now see what has happened." I asked, "What do we do now?" One of the drivers blamed me. "You listen to too many ghost stories. That's why this is happening to you," I replied. "This is not happening only to me, it is happening to all of us." Imran Bhai, I started reciting Ayatul Kursi. Out of all 6 of us, only 2 knew any verses. The others didn't know anything. When I told them to recite something, they said, "We don't know any verses." So I gathered my courage and started reciting Ayatul Kursi loudly. The creatures moved a little away from us, but they still kept circling angrily. Then from far away we saw a car coming. When its headlights fell on the creatures, they ran back under the motorway. Even then, we were so scared that we could not even run toward our trucks. Ustad shouted, "Quickly get inside the vehicles." As soon as we tried to run toward our trucks, the passing car went ahead, and the creatures returned again, surrounding us once more for about 5 minutes, growling and circling like hunting animals. That night, we truly felt like death was right in front of us. We thought it was our final day on Earth. We kept reciting Ayatul Kursi together. Suddenly again, the sound of a child crying came from under the motorway. All the creatures turned their heads toward the sound, as if someone was calling them. They ran under the motorway at high speed. I shouted, "Quickly, sit inside the truck." My truck was in the middle, but we all climbed into the back truck's cabin together. We shut the windows and turned off the lights, but we made a mistake. My truck's lights were still on. Indicators were blinking. The cabin area was visible from outside. We closed the curtains and covered ourselves with sheets. For a long time, strange activities continued outside. Those cat creatures returned again and sat in front of my truck. Then somebody began knocking on the door from outside. Inside the cabin, all of us screamed. Everyone was nearly crying. They began shouting at me. "This all happened because of you." I said, "How is this my fault? The tire burst. How is that my mistake?" We even started arguing. Then one driver said, "Don't argue. Think about how we can get out of this situation." We hadn't even changed the tire yet, so we couldn't leave the place until that was done. We just stayed there, sitting, while all the strange activities continued. Then a motorway police vehicle arrived behind us. We thanked Allah for that. 2 minutes later, the police officer came up to us and said, "Are you okay? What's going on? You have 3 trucks parked here. Do you know this area is not safe?" When the officer saw us, all of us looking terrified, he was shocked. He asked, "What happened to you?" We told him everything that had been happening. The police had 3 officers, and 2 of them stepped outside with their guns and told us, "Quickly change the tire. How long have you been here?" We said, "Around 45 minutes. There were so many wildcats attacking us." He said, "How is that even possible? Nothing like this has ever happened on this motorway." When we went to get the tire, it wasn't there. The tire was lying near the protective grille along the motorway. The ground there was rough and muddy, so if anyone had walked there, there would have been footprints, but there were none. The tire was just there by itself. We were all shocked. 3 or 4 drivers lifted the tire because it was very heavy. By Allah's help, we managed to change it, put all the equipment back in the trucks, and drove off from that place. I told the others, "I will not put my truck at the back anymore. I will stay at the front." Earlier, our speed was around 75 kilometers per h. Then we increased it to 90 kilometers per h, and eventually we reached a large service area. I told everyone, "If you want to leave, go ahead. I'm not leaving tonight. I'll leave in the daytime." That day, I decided I would never listen to such ghostly stories during nighttime travels or in deserted places. So I hope you like my story. Please share it. It's not just a story, it's a warning for everyone. If you are ever alone in a deserted place or traveling at night, please avoid horror stories or scary movies. Even if nothing happens, the human mind begins creating terrifying images and scenarios. Try to watch scary movies or listen to scary stories only in the comfort of your home. Friends, I hope today's story was enjoyable. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and press the bell icon to turn on all notifications. That way you become part of the YouTube family and will get notifications for all my stories. Take care of yourself. Keep me in your prayers. Thank you for allowing me to share this story. See you in another interesting story.